look at the videos of our board meetings. I've never seen one of them. But I dare say that I don't think you're going to find me screaming and hollering at anybody.
I can say over the years, I've never seen you say anything that looks like you're out of control.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, chairing the board and even as superintendent, there's times when you've had to conduct a meeting and try to keep it in order.
Yes.
But you've always done it in a very calm fashion to try to do that.
Because you never know that those people that you're having that confrontation with, that later on, if you handle that as best you can, even though they still won't be happy with you, that later on, that how you handle that can allow you to work with that person again. And there are many times as superintendent, you had to let people go. And you can never and the school business is different than anything else in this world. School business, you can't tell people why you let them go. You can't tell their family. You can't tell their friends. You can't tell anybody. They can tell whatever they want to. Right? And it can be true or not true. But as a superintendent and a board member, you can't address that. Law does not allow you to do that. And so a lot of times, the only thing you hear out in public is the one side. And so I think if we can stay calm and we can let Jesus come across in our actions, then it leaves that door open for people, for you to recover with those people. And there are a number of folks that I had to let go through the years. And it is not anything that I ever wanted to do or most people ever enjoy doing. But you have to if you do what's right for boys and girls. And that's what we are there for. That later on, because of the way we handled it, and I didn't try to beat them to death so they'd never get a job anywhere else, those friendships have been repaired. Some have not. Some will never be repaired. It's just that's how hard it gets to do.
But that's true if you ran a company too. It's not.
Absolutely.
You let people go, and sometimes you repair relationships, sometimes they don't. Yeah. But if you ran a business, that would happen. Yeah. So, if you weren't in education, what is there another field that you think not that I'm sure you love what you do. I can tell you do. But if you weren't in education, what would be the one other thing you might would have went into that you think you might would have liked?
Well, we have a farm. We have a registered Angus cattle farm, and I thoroughly enjoy that. I tell people that's how I kept my sanity through the years, because I could go home and work with the cows, and they didn't call me on the telephone, and they didn't gripe and complain. And as long as they had something to eat and drink, they were just as happy as they could be. So you could go there and work hard and enjoy it, and it was not the negative end of it. I thoroughly enjoy that. It's so different than what I've done with the rest of my life. I serve on a number of commissions that I thoroughly enjoy. I serve on the Soil and Water Commission for the state of Georgia. That's entirely different than education. I serve on the RC&D Council. That's a Resource Conservation and Development Council for the northern half of Georgia. That's helping local businesses and deal with getting grants and how to improve their businesses, and it also looks after the environment. So those things I've enjoyed. I've done them for years and years and years. I'm on the ACT, which is the opposite of SAT. It's an education thing, but it's the National Council, and that's been a different approach. And serving on SACS on the National Council has given me a different approach to things. What would I do if I wasn't in education? I don't have a clue. I just, because it's been my life, I don't know of anything that I would have wanted to do other than education.
I'll give you some random fire off-the-wall questions. If you and your wife don't have a political event or some educational things going on, what would you probably do on a Friday night if y'all were to go out?
Be in a coma. Because there is so much to go to. I was talking with Ann Sullivan, one of the other board members, and last week and this week, we have seen more of each other at school events and community events, and we've seen our own spouses. And we've laughed. I told her this morning, I said, well, did you tell your husband hello for me? I said, and she said, yes, did you tell Elizabeth hello for me? So we are involved in a lot of stuff with church and the other FCA and the other organizations I'm involved with. We are away from home. My wife keeps my little 2.5-year-old grandson every day. And so, he is full of life, which we love. He loves to be outdoors. She tells me that she's seen parts of the yard that she didn't even know existed because he's everywhere, all over the place. So she's pretty much exhausted in the evenings too. So if we get a night where we don't have something to go to, it's just
favorite food.
Favorite food. I'm a sweetaholic. I could do without everything else except homemade sweets. I don't eat coconut, so don't keep
Favorite
anything.
vacation spot.
Favorite vacation spot. We're sunshine people. My wife and I are both blessed that we're alike in that way. So we like water, we like beach, we like the outdoors. So anywhere where we can be outside and doing those kind of things, being on the beach. But I'd say probably beaches.
Did you watch Duck Dynasty?
Funny you ask. I saw it last night for the first time. My lovely wife had that thing on, and I thought, what in this world are you watching? And so I sat and endured that, and she explained to me that they're millionaires and what they look like before they grew.
They could buy some razors, I guess.
Yes. And that they're really good Christian people. And I listened to it, and it was amazing. We went through a whole program and didn't hear any nasty words or any implications of filth.
Right.
And that was refreshing. If you can get past the country of it, it was a cute show. Not that I'm going to watch it every time, but
One more educational question, and then one last question we'll finish up. Who probably had the biggest influence on you growing up or through your years educationally wise that influenced your life the most?
My mom, absolutely, hands down. And, she taught me, she nurtured us. She was a teacher. Now, she taught all day long. She came home and cooked we called it supper back then, they call it dinner now. She had breakfast for us every day. She sewed our clothes. And she did her grading paper. She was a first grade teacher too. I can remember waking her up and her up at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning and sewing or fixing meals or whatever. And plus she was involved in the community. That had a big impact on my life, to know the commitment she had, but yet she was considered one of the finest teachers in Cartersville and Bartow County. She loved her kids. She loved their families. She taught generations. I never will forget going to one of her school. I was probably middle school or high school, and her granddad had come to meet with her because his grandson had gotten in trouble. And he wanted to know why in the world she had disciplined his grandson. She looked at him and said, if I call his name, everybody would know him, said, I disciplined you. I disciplined your son, and I'm going to discipline your grandson. But she taught us right from wrong, and she modeled that, and she was at everything we did. I don't know how she did it, but that was a big impact on me.
She left that influence you. What is it 10 or 15 or 20 years from now you want people to say about Davis Nelson, and what influence, impact you've left on the community in the education? Listen, I don't mean this in a patchy kind of way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have been the elected superintendent and appointed superintendent on the school board. And so educational wise in Bartow County over the last 20 years or so, you've probably been the highest profile person in our system for 20 plus years. But as you age and you retire, move on, that'll shift to somebody else like it always does. What do you want them to remember about Davis Nelson?
Well, if, and this was something my mom taught me, that if you try to do what's right for boys and girls, and as best you can what's right for adults, it's not going to always be the popular thing. And we know that, being Christians, that if we take the right stance, it's not going to always be popular. It's not going to always be pleasant. And I've truly tried to take the right stance. I guess what I want people to do is get past all the popping circumstances, peel back all the political stuff, and look at actually what we were able to accomplish, and judge me from that.
Last question, and you can use your discretion how to elaborate on this. Do you have a favorite Bible verse or Bible story, and tell us about that, or what it means to you, or how that works in your life?
The story of David is my favorite. It always has been. And I take it not that David Nelson was anything like David did in his life, but I take it from David was a young boy from a farm background, tending the sheep, bottom of the totem pole in his family, like I was. But God was able to take him with all the imperfections and use him in spite of himself. And if you notice the story of David, he made some big blunders through his life, made some bad decisions, but he always kept his faith with Christ. He always tried to be genuine with God. And that's the part of the Bible that this had an impact on me, that regardless of all my faults, Christ still loves me. He still has a plan for me at my age. He's not done with us. And he still has doors that he can use me to walk through to have an impact with other people. And I certainly hope and pray that my life is open a book as it is. There's no secrets in my life. As I tell people, I've been on the front pages of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution more times than I'd like to. But I would hope that people could look and say that he was honest, he was genuine, and he held his faith with Jesus Christ.
Dr. Nelson, thank you so much for being with us on Covenant Conversations. As always, it's a great pleasure to have you here, and we just want to say personally how much we appreciate what you do for our county. I know it's not always easy to put yourself out there and be criticized